friends, welcome back to another inspiring episode of On Location Vancouver. I'm your host, Zara Durrani. The show is brought to you with the generous support of TELUS STORYHIVE. Today, I'm here at the Arthritis Society Canada office, and I'm truly honored to be sitting down with a woman who has been transforming the landscape of arthritis care and advocacy across Canada. Joining me today is Trish Barbato, President and CEO of Arthritis Society Canada, a visionary leader with more than 2 decades of experience in healthcare, innovation, and community impact. Under her leadership, the Society continues its mission to support more than 6 million Canadians living with arthritis through research, advocacy, and compassionate care. Let's go in and speak with Trish Barbato. Welcome to Vancouver, Trish.
Thank you. I'm so delighted to be here. It's absolutely wonderful.
It's so incredible to have you, and then to find out, oh, we have so many things in common, from the fact that you're super into fitness, health, meditation. You also started a community meditation initiative. I want to hear, where does all this passion to help others and this passion for wellness come from?
Yeah, it's a great question. I've reflected on that over the years, and I think primarily it is because I am an immigrant. I came to Canada on a boat, landed at Pier 21, and lived with an extended family. So many different people who lived in the house. And it made me realize that collaboration is so important, that you have to, as an immigrant, when language is a barrier, you really have to fight for things. And I remember being a young girl, I was the only one that could speak English in the house. I was on the phone with, whether it was unemployment insurance or the passport office or the Canadian Revenue Agency or whoever it might be, trying to get things for my family. And it just started very young in terms of being an advocate for families, for people, for children. And I think that just carried me through. It started very young.
Tell me about the work with Arthritis Society Canada, because you stepped into your role at a very pivotal moment, which was in 2020. What was that like?
Well,
this is right after, during the pandemic era.
Yeah. Well, it's sort of like one of the most interesting ways to start as a CEO. So normally when you're a CEO, you have this 90-day plan. I'm going to come in, I'm going to meet everybody, I'm going to gain trust, I'm going to learn where the opportunities are and where the challenges are, I'm going to make a plan. So you have this beautiful thing that after 3 weeks of being in the organization, all got thrown out the window because it was COVID, and I canceled all my trips.
So you started
across
just
the
before
country.
COVID.
Yes, just before COVID. So it's a very interesting way to start. On the other hand, I think it was full of opportunity, because there's no other time where, as a leader, and again, I'm a person that likes the weight on my shoulders, I like that responsibility. It's a time to step up. It's a time to say, yes, we are going to get through this. We are going to get through this together. We are going to figure this out. It's an opportunity to be a light for the organization amongst all this darkness and horrible news, and even for us, a lot of things that were falling apart. All our events were canceled, and so revenue became an instant crisis. And how do you navigate that? And so on the one hand, yes, terrible. On the other hand, a wonderful opportunity to galvanize your organization and to really draw out their strength and their power. And that's how I saw it.
That's incredible. And the way I got connected to the Arthritis Society Canada was, I attended earlier this year the Fireball, which was right before I was going to France for the Cannes Film Festival. And I was dealing with a hip injury that was forcing me to not walk. I was living in a lot of pain and not telling anyone. Working in media, working in the public eye, quite often I'm hired because of how I present myself and how I look. And I would, take the painkillers or the muscle relaxants and then I had the opportunity once I came back to speak to Carlene and her team because I was emceeing an event out in South Surrey, and the proceeds were going to the Arthritis Society, and just mentioning what I'm going through, and we weren't sure if it's arthritis or not, and we've ruled it out. But the amount of fear that I was living in, especially after attending the Fireball and learning about individual stories and knowing that I could be impacted, and for some weird reason, people think that, oh yes, when you're at a certain age. And through that event, I learned that no, you can get this at a very young age. You can be very able-bodied and healthy and super into fitness, and this can happen. So I learned a lot through that. Can you tell us about these fundraising events that Arthritis Society Canada does, East Coast and West Coast? Yeah,
so we do a variety of events, and really when you do an event, of course you want to raise money, but you really want to raise awareness. And I think, as you said, arthritis is so misunderstood. And people do not realize that it affects people of all ages. Children as young as 18 months are diagnosed with juvenile idiopathic arthritis. So there are so many forms of arthritis. It's a complex disease. Even researchers, when they get into it, they say, my goodness, this is so complicated. It's not just wear and tear. We don't know why this is happening to the joint. And so I think getting that awareness up with these events and modernizing the brand and showing arthritis in a different light, getting the empathy, telling people stories is a wonderful way to really get the name out and help people to, like you said, you were terrified of getting arthritis, and people don't talk about it. It's very stigmatized. People don't want others to think they're old, so they don't tell people.
What I went through, and I remember getting really emotional hearing one of the women's stories at this Women's Leadership Awards that was happening. It was a day of playing golf, and Carlene was there, and these women my age that you wouldn't think that they have arthritis, and they talk about living with this and the pain that they've dealt with, and also the stigma around it at workplace. And I was wondering, if this happens, first of all, thank goodness I'm connected, even though I'm not, super involved in it, but I'm connected. I've attended 2 events, and thank goodness for the work you guys are doing, the awareness, and to remove the stigma and education.
Yeah, education is key. I think that's another big one that people don't realize, is that this is not a disease of the elderly. Most people with osteoarthritis are under the age of 45, so they're in the prime of their lives. And even if someone, for example, most joint replacements are due to arthritis. 99% of knee replacements are due to arthritis. But that's end stage. That's because the disease has progressed. We have nothing to stop it with osteoarthritis. And so now this person has to get a knee replacement. They've probably had it for 20 years or 15 years or 10 years. So people get arthritis at much earlier ages. And for the autoimmune and autoinflammatory types of arthritis, which are really devastating for people, those are happening, again, in their 20s and their 30s and their 40s, in the prime of their lives.
Now, you worked across senior care, mental health, rehabilitation, finance. How have those experiences shaped the way you're leading Arthritis Society Canada?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think you always learn something from everything you do in life, whether it's a relationship or it's a workplace thing, or there's always something to learn. I tell young people all the time, you hope you have a bad boss to work with. Hope that you get a bad boss, because you will learn a lot from that experience. You'll learn about yourself, you'll learn about how to interact, you'll learn about what you don't want, what you can't handle, what you can handle. You'll be pushed in ways you haven't been pushed before. You should say yes to a bad boss. Say yes, because it will be good for you and it will be good for your growth. So I kind of think about everything I've done as contributing to the way that I lead, to the way that I interact with people, to the ability to generate solutions. I feel it's like this culmination of experiences and culmination of making mistakes and doing things the wrong way that you don't want to do again and you don't want to repeat, and then finding like, oh, this actually really works and it worked again here. Oh, I could do this again. So I feel like it's a combination of all those things that really help leaders succeed as leaders.
Arthritis Society's mission is to fight the fire of arthritis through research, advocacy, and innovation. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Sure. Well, I think we have some really great programs. One of the things that we've done, for example, is to reach more people. We've gone more virtual with education sessions, and we will get 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 people signed up for education sessions that are run every couple of months. So, for example, in BC alone, we've had about year-to-date 1,500 people that have watched it and many more that click through after. We have a wonderful camp in BC that is focused on kids with arthritis. And I've been to these camps. Honestly, it just makes you light up because these are kids that are going to a school where no one else has arthritis, where their teacher does not believe them, where no one understands what they're going through. And they look, for the most part, they sort of look okay. So you can't really tell that they're as disabled as they are, that they're going through the kind of medication and side effects and exhaustion, fatigue, joint pain, all the things that these kids are going through. And then they find a whole camp with kids that are just like them, that understand what they're going through. I had a group talking about their medications and telling each other tricks of how to manage the kind of post injection. It was remarkable. So we love having camps across the country for kids, and we have a backpack program which we arm with kids that are newly diagnosed. And then research is really critical, and research is going down in Canada for arthritis, even though the prevalence of the disease is going up. So our role in fundraising to help fill that gap and to ensure that research has the money it needs for breakthroughs in all of the various types of arthritis, that is really important to us as well. And advocacy. So for example, I was mentioning joint replacements are due to arthritis for the most part. We have long wait times in this country, wait times in some provinces that are worse than what they were before COVID. So we advocate to make sure that is a person's last resort, then they need to access that. They don't want to be debilitated for 3 years when they finally get their knee replaced. And so working with the governments to get those improved is another big role that we play.
The arthritis community is very diverse, as you were mentioning, and the public perception, and even someone like me, for the longest time, the perception was it is individuals of a certain age group. How do you feel through the work, whether it is through Fireball Gala or through the videos or just through awareness programs that Arthritis Society Canada is leading? Like, how do you feel it's opening the public's eyes and perception?
I mean, I think we're making progress. I still think there's a long road ahead. We're working on some new updated data. Arthritis is the leading cause of disability in the country. So this is sick days and long-term disability, also cost to the benefit system and drug system. So this is an area where the country can do better, where employers could do better for their employees while saving money if we had more education, if we were able to help. So we're looking at some updated figures around that provincially and federally, which really helps to get attention around the issue. So that's one angle that I think is really important. Another thing that we're looking at, for example, is, and you sort of mentioned this, if you've had an injury, you have a much higher risk of getting arthritis, wherever that joint, a torn ACL, whatever that might be. And it's astounding how many we have in youth, how many of those types of injuries happen in youth and sport. And there is no awareness or education around the future consequences. So one of the things that we're looking at is how might we increase the awareness and knowledge of coaches and of teams and of associations. And we've already started some preliminary discussions with sports teams, sports associations, and they're very, very receptive. They had no idea about the data. You have these injuries, it leads to early onset osteoarthritis, which leads to disability, which leads to this. So you have these kids that are at the top of their world when they're young, have an injury, then have arthritis, and their world is very dark after that, and we're not helping them. So that's another area. So there's I think some really exciting both research and other programming that could be done to raise awareness and really improve how people see arthritis. And I think the other thing I wanted to say is for people living with the disease, it gives them a voice. And I think, as you know, you're like a storyteller and a story recorder, and hearing people's voices is very important.
How do you find perhaps your goal for the Arthritis Society Canada in the next 5 to 10 years? Like, what sort of programs or how you would like Canadians' perspective of arthritis to shift?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So right now, we have been working on creating a plan for arthritis for the country. We've been doing it as an ecosystem with all the national organizations. So it's a massive project. 22 organizations have been working for 2.5 years to write this plan. The plan includes public policy priorities. It includes research priorities. So we got all the researchers, all the institutes, all the departments, 30 people together to prioritize research for arthritis. Like if we, 20 years from now, want to say this is different, it starts today. So we have to have a North Star, and we all need to be pointed in the same direction. Otherwise, it'll be like a sprinkling of things happening all over the place. We need to focus. So this is in the plan. There'll be catalysts for change that are larger projects. That one relates to children, the youth and sport. There's a number in there, women's health, which I'm really passionate about. So this plan will be a real catalyst that will come out in April, but then there'll be an implementation phase where we have designated groups that will take on the pushing forward of various aspects of the plan. So finishing this plan is important to me. Figuring out exactly what our role will be in that. We've taken a leadership role to date. I think we'll continue to have a leadership role in that. And I think the thing that's really given me a lot of gratification is there's a lot of small grassroots patient organizations who are doing wonderful work for very specific diseases, whether it's vasculitis or, all the different types. There's different types of arthritis, psoriatic, spondylitis, et cetera. They're all in this together. We've brought this group together. They're working together. They're advocating to the government together. And that is very powerful, and far more powerful than each one of them trying to do this on their own. So I think that will have long-lasting impact for the future.
So where are we right now, Trish?
Well, Arthritis Society Canada owns this building, and the building houses the Mary Pack Center and the Mary Pack program, which is a wonderful program for people with arthritis. There are occupational therapists here, physiotherapists here, rheumatologists, and you'll see in this room, for example, wonderful space for exercise and for all of the work that the therapists do with patients every day.
Amazing. So I noticed there is a physiotherapist who'll be meeting a client shortly. What is the selection process like? Because I can only imagine you can easily get overburdened with a lot of folks who would need help, and especially some of the statistics you were sharing with me yesterday.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. I just ran into one of our patients, and she has a rare form of arthritis called vasculitis, which attacks tissue as well. And she just came in for a checkup. She'll have to be coming back for an operation, which is horrible, but one of her lungs has collapsed. So again, I think with arthritis, we often think about aches and pains, but it really is a complex disease, and there's so many types of diseases under the arthritis umbrella. So for her, she really needs specialized care, and in fact will be hospitalized because of her arthritis, which people don't often think about. I think on the ortho side, we're really trying to help patients to get as much mobility as possible. We want to make sure that they can enjoy life, that they can do all the activities of daily living. So we're trying to really arm them, empower them, help them to manage their disease as best as possible.
Incredible. Now, this lady, she is certainly a young individual.
Very young.
Yes, and when you look at her, she looks healthy. Great. She looks great, very fit, and what's going on inside of her body. So Arthritis Society Canada is supporting her through
Yeah, exactly.
physio advocacy work.
And research. Like she needs a breakthrough. We need a breakthrough in that disease in order to support her going into remission or ultimately for her disease to be cured. That's what we really need. All right, so here we have some exercise bikes and a little bit of other equipment and all the things that you've probably been doing with physiotherapists for your hip, as I'm doing for my hip.
And it's interesting, not all physiotherapists are aware of how to treat something like what I went through. And I'm sure that arthritis patients, like the lady whose story you were sharing with me, I had to go to so many different physiotherapists to actually get treated. And there were times where I felt they just wanted to get my session in. They just wanted the hour or would just put the heat pack, and it can be a little bit infuriating. And then when you also don't know what's really going on, all you know is I'm living in pain.
I know. And I think you're right. I think like understanding how complex it is and how different people manifest and then different levels of pain and understanding how to calm that down. And sometimes physiotherapy doesn't actually work. It's not, you have to try it for sure. And you want to strengthen all the muscles and everything around what is happening, but you're absolutely right. It not always fixes the problem, right? It just can, but it can help.
So let's talk about how can the viewers who are watching right now, whether they're impacted by arthritis or someone they know, or they want to support the Arthritis Society, how can individuals or organizations support you?
Yeah, great question. First of all, I think if you have arthritis, we have wonderful resources on our website and social media. There's a lot of evidence-based education. So whether you have a particular type, whether you're wondering about a certain medication, anything like that, we can help you. We have our arthritis line. This is manned all the time in French and in English. So you can chat, you can email, or by phone. And we can help with when you're first diagnosed and you're trying to comprehend what just happened, or you've been told that you need to try something that you're not familiar with, whether it's a drug, we can help. So there's our arthritis line, and then the various programs and continuing education that people can take. So I think that, and resources, one of the great things that we can do is help people find resources in their province or territory that might be helpful, whether that's physiotherapy or some other modality that might be available to them, a clinic, something that's specialized in their province.
And I guess showing them what are the resources, because sometimes when you go through a situation, your mind just closes in on it and you don't know what is available to you.
100%. We're in the Mary Pack building right now. You know, the Mary Pack building, I love Mary Pack. She was our founder. She was an unbelievable advocate for people living with arthritis. She was a school teacher and would teach kids who were totally disabled from their disease at the time. This is back in their 40s. She was outraged, incensed by what she saw as a total injustice, and kind of created this and helped create the Canadian Rheumatology Association. There's a great program here in BC, here and in Victoria, that is really helpful for people that live with arthritis. But I agree with you. Not everyone knows all the resources that are available in their province. And so we can help redirect that. And then we're fundraisers. You know, we need money to do all this. A lot of our money goes to research, which is so important, but to many other programs. We have events in Vancouver, but also across the country. It's Giving Tuesday tomorrow.
Yes.
So that's fun. Giving Tuesday is a great day where dollars were matched by other donors, and therefore we kind of can double the impact. And that goes all the way through to the year end. I always tell people, I'm an accountant by background, get your tax receipt for your tax return, make a donation. So you have now until December 31st, and that's really helpful as well.
I want to talk a bit more about the work that you're doing. You were saying you're very passionate about women's health. We talked a bit about the Menopause Foundation of Canada. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, so my colleague and I, Janet Coe, had horrible experience with menopause. We're both in healthcare, and we were so angry. I call us two angry women. That is our origin story. And we just kept saying, why isn't anyone doing anything about this in this country? Why is it so taboo and stigmatized and hidden, secret, and no one can get care and treatment, and doctors don't know anything? So we kept talking about it, but nothing was happening. And it was the old, you know, she called me one day and said, Trish, If we don't do something about it, no one will. It's us. Like, we have to do something. And it's like a call to arms, you know? It's like, okay, fine. Literally, I get off the phone and I incorporate us online. And, you know, it's a very grassroots organization. I'm a volunteer and on the board. And we have worked really hard to increase the knowledge to groundbreaking reports. The data from those reports has been cited around the world. I think we've already got something like 12 billion media impressions, and we've only existed for 3 years. That was the last tally. And partially it's just that, you know, we thought about it for a long time, and then when we finally started and the data finally broke through, but the whole menopause conversation has transformed in the last 3 years, which is really great for women. Really great for women.
I love your passion.
There's things to be done in this world, you know, and we want to be able to do them and be at our best.
Where do you think this drive comes from?
Well, I think it all goes back just wanting, you know, better for my family. Like, I just felt like we kind of like didn't get the life maybe we could have gotten, if you know what I mean. And my parents, like, very highly educated father who then is working in construction. It's just, yeah, you know, I want people to be able to reach their fullest potential. That's what I care about.
Tell us about the Community Meditation Initiative.
So community meditation, again, I have a lot of colleagues who like to do these things. So one of my colleagues, Debbie, is a wonderful meditation instructor and teacher in her own right. And we had been doing quite a bit together in our meditation and mindfulness journey, had taken retreats together and that kind of thing. And so she wanted to do something that was very open, very inclusive. And because this was just around the time there was in person, but then it went to virtual, so it's primarily virtual, and it's just open space and for people to learn how to meditate. So if you've never meditated before, there are really wonderful instructors. It's all virtual. There's sitting time in the morning, in the evenings. So it's just a very open platform with courses that if they speak to you, then you can sign up and learn more and kind of be willing to dig into maybe a place that you're thinking, oh, that's sort of interesting to me, maybe a blind spot that you have or something like that. So very accessible courses and instruction and sitting.
Do you find correlation between you being able to do so much, give so much of yourself? You seem very well service-minded. That's what I'm hearing. Also very passionate about wellness, because I see you're giving a lot of your energy out, but with passion, because you want to help people. Do you find this connection between you meditating and doing all this inner self-care and then the kung fu and the fitness and then having the energy to give a lot?
Yeah, I think you can't be at your best if you're not taking care of yourself. And so I know, especially for women, that's hard. They tend to put themselves last. But I think that it's just thinking about what do you need to refuel? You know, what is your refuel? For you, it might be something different. It might be being with people, not being with people, being alone, going to the spa. You know, what is it? What is it that is going to fill your tank? What is it that empties it out? And once you have a good idea of what that is for you personally, it's much easier to manage your energy because you already know. So you already know, like, I'm going to go into this situation. This person is very difficult for me to take on energetically. I'm going to create some space around this, or I'm going to give myself time to recuperate after, or whatever the situation needs. I feel like you become more attuned to what is required in the moment. What is the response I need right now? How much energy should I give this? How much energy should I keep for myself? And I think, you know, fitness and diet and all the things you can do, just do them. You know, just do them. I know it's hard. I know there's a million reasons not to, but in the long run, it's going to be better if you've done them and if you've got that foundation.
So getting involved in community, like community and service, that's what I'm hearing.
That's it. That's it.
What would you say are the values you live by that you can perhaps share with us?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's really about having a strong sense of self and not being afraid of who you are. Everyone else is taken. So you've got you, and that is good. So I think like step one is just be in your body. You know, stand on your own 2 feet. Don't worry about what people think or don't think. Most of that is in your own head. Like it just goes back to a lot of self-talk that is not that helpful. We can drop that. And so I feel like it's kind of, there's a value about that self-awareness, self-acceptance, and that leads to a lot of authenticity. And people love authenticity. We don't have enough of it right now in our leaders. I think it's what people yearn for. It's like, I want to be able to totally believe this person and trust them. And so I feel like authenticity is something that's really important. And to your point, actually, hard work. I think hard work pays off. Hard work has paid off in my life. So I'm a big believer in it. Don't be afraid of hard work. It's okay. You know, you can take a vacation and all that, but if you're in on something and you're doing it, I mean, get in on it and really do it. Usually good comes from that. So I think that that's another really important value that I hold and hopefully exhibit.
Trish Barbato, what an honor. We're so grateful we were able to get her here today in Vancouver for On Location Vancouver, brought to you with the support of TELUS STORYHIVE. Until next time, I'm Zara Durrani, and I can't wait to bring more local stories to you that may inspire you and inspire me. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for joining us for this episode of On Location Vancouver. If you would like to be a guest on the show, please scan the QR code and someone from our team will be in touch. We'll see you soon.